I've read this book a little bit, and I don't really know what to make of this whole deal. At the end of the Gospel of Luke, for example, when Jesus is walking around with his disciples after having resurrected and talking to them, but they don't recognize him until he sits down to dinner with them and breaks bread, and then all of a sudden he appears as some sort of luminous spirit that they're frightened by or uncertain of, and Jesus has to say to them, "Look, I'm not a spirit. I'm flesh and bone." Uh, this is bizarre. I don't understand. I really don't. Um, but there are other holy books with teachings about immortality, um, and they speak about the immortality of the soul as opposed to the body, and this makes a bit more sense to me. But I think it's what distinguishes Christianity, that there is a physical resurrection, resurrection in the flesh. I don't know how to understand this symbolically. Uh, it seems that it's demanding that one take it literally, and so I kind of don't know what to do about that. But when it comes to a book like the Bhagavad Gita, this copy is translated by Sri Aurobindo. I think of this notion that the soul is not that the soul doesn't die. It doesn't, but nor was it born. So immortality is sort of identifying oneself with that spirit within you, which uh, could never not be, as you're trying to articulate or articulating quite well, Corey. Um, I wanted to read a few lines here. Finite bodies. This is from chapter 2, verse 18. Finite bodies have an end, but that which possesses and uses the body is infinite, illimitable, eternal, indestructible. Therefore fight. This is Krishna talking to Arjuna. He who regards this, the soul, as a slayer, and he who thinks it slain, both of them fail to perceive the truth. It does not slay, nor is it slain. The soul is not born, nor does it die, nor is it a thing that comes into being once and passing away will never come into being again. The soul is unborn, ancient, eternal. It is not slain with the slaying of the body. So I think one of the main teachings of this book is that for this reason, with the knowledge of the immortality of the soul, we must then love action itself, as opposed to a sort of self-love of the actor. Self-love of the actor could only be a love for the temporary form that our soul is incarnated into. And this is not to put down our living embodied lives. It's just to recognize that the living embodied life is a vehicle for something transcendent. And so in my video with Jeremy, the Pathless Path, and Benton, Single Line Movement, when I was talking about reincarnation and this grand picture that someone like Rudolf Steiner will paint for us about multiple incarnations of the soul and karmic inheritance, and Steiner will talk about how our sensory lives on the earth are learning experiences for our supersensible selves, for our spirits, and that there's nothing more important than this embodied life, because we're trying to to learn and to experience and to develop. Because, for spirit, there's something missing that only embodied life can provide. Spirit wants to take on flesh, but it's still spirit, and flesh is flesh, though they are, in a sense, dependent on one another, co-constituting. You can have an idea of spirit, an abstraction of spirit, independent of any body, matter, or flesh, but there's really no such thing. In a sense, before there is a universe, there really is no God. Or at least if you're going to talk about God in itself, I think, I kind of, in this situation, would draw from the German shoemaker turned mystic Jakob Böhme, who saw God as this dynamic tension between a force of goodness and light and expansive love, and a force of darkness and contraction, and a desire to be and remain unmanifest and unrevealed. And it's this tension that generates the spark that is the creation of our universe. And this is an eternal creation that's always ongoing. And within each of us is that same tension in the Godhead itself. And, this is why there's a learning process underway. God, which in itself exists in that state of perpetual contradiction and tension, is trying to reconcile itself with itself, and hence the evolution of the universe and all of the sort of moral dilemmas and intellectual confusions that human beings suffer through, and often, if we're lucky, triumph over. But it's the potential for us to triumph, and the possibility of remembering this, remembering our well, I guess there never really was a primordial unity if even the Godhead is intention is struggling against itself. We're trying to heal the divine itself with our work on earth. I think Christ is sometimes talked of as a rescue mission, but if Christ is not simply a single historical personality, Jesus of Nazareth, but a force of consciousness that can be awakened in the heart of any human being, I think this notion of eternal life starts to make more sense. Not that our physical bodies are resurrected after we die, but that the Christ in us was already eternally living, and so was never really born, and so cannot die, as Krishna described for us in the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God. But yeah, I've said a lot of things that I'm intrigued with myself. So see what you can make of it. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your response, Corey. Always enjoy it.